Okay, and what it do, party people? Welcome back to Across the Spectrum. So today or this time, we're gonna look at Ben Shapiro reacting to the news of today as Hunter Biden being pardoned by his father Joe Biden, President Brandon or whatnot. So we're gonna look at Ben Shapiro's reaction.
It's time for another episode of Ben Reacts, thanks to President Joe Biden, who tonight pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, in the most expected scandal of recent memory.
It was pretty
Remember,
expected.
folks, don't miss out on breaking news and exclusive content like these React videos. Join Daily Wire Plus today during our best deal of the year. Right now, you get 50% off.
Join Across the Spectrum
no
also.
code necessary. It is indeed the final hours of our Black Friday deal. Head on over to dailywire.com.
Well, we don't charge anything, just subscribe, that's all.
Alrighty, so big news of the evening, of course, that President Joe Biden, who had vowed that he would not, in fact, pardon his son Hunter Biden on gun and
many
tax-related
videos
charges.
of Joe Biden saying
He was lying.
not going
Who
to
knew?
pardon
Except for
his
everyone,
son.
because, of course, President Joe Biden has always been a super corrupt and venal politician. In fact, from the very beginning of his career, he was attempting to make money for members of his family, whether we were talking about his brothers, whether we were talking about his kids, whether we were talking about his sister, whether we were talking
There's actually a video of him talking about that he would be a prostitute if he could.
But his
sell
entire
himself,
family,
Joe
his entire
Biden.
family has been the beneficiary of his political largesse. They've all used his name in order to pull down sacks of cash. And Hunter Biden, of course, was most famous for doing that, whether he was pulling down sacks of cash by taking money from Ukrainian energy company Burisma, having no expertise in Ukraine or in energy, whether he was attempting to take down sacks of cash from the Chinese with 10% held in trust for the big guy. That is according, again, to contemporaneous emails that were found on the Hunter Biden laptop, which were then covered up by the media and, of course, by the intelligence community, which claimed that it was probably Russian disinformation. Well, you'll recall that last year there was a huge scandal because the special counsel, a person named David Weiss, first attempted to bury the Hunter Biden charges, particularly when it came to the question of Foreign Agent Registration Act violations, tax felonies, whether Joe Biden was in fact involved in all of this. He attempted a plea deal with Hunter Biden that would have allowed him to get off scot-free, essentially, with some probation and some community service. And then he attempted to bury the tax charges in the gun charges. In the end, the judge blew that up because the judge looked at the deal and realized that the deal was in fact unbelievably corrupt, and there was no way to even pretend that it wasn't. So in the end, David Weiss and company at the DOJ, they had to go back to the drawing board, and eventually the judge in that particular case accepted a guilty plea in a 9-count indictment, 3 felony tax offenses, 6 misdemeanor tax offenses, as well as a gun charge because he had lied on his gun intake form. He had suggested that he was not in fact a drug addict when he was in fact a drug addict.
Well, who
Now
really
again, those convictions did not
tells on
get to the
themselves
root
there?
of the matter with regard to Hunter Biden, which was he in fact a bag man for daddy? I mean, we have texts from Hunter Biden to his own children suggesting that he paid the family bills. So the chances that he was not in fact a bag man for the Biden family are pretty much zero. Everyone all over the world knew that daddy was the one with the weight, and they figured that by paying Hunter Biden, they would basically buy off daddy. This was always the bargain. Hunter Biden basically admitted as much. He went on now.
Yes, this is true, and the same is true with Donald Trump. Jared Kushner got, I think it was like $200 million from the Saudis and stuff, and then they paid to stay at his hotel a bunch of times and all this stuff. And people go to Mar-a-Lago and pay all kinds of exorbitant stuff to get next to Trump. But I mean, it's just what this is, right? Like Elon Musk pays to be next to Trump, and they say George Soros pays to be next to whatever Democrat. So that's just what it is. You got money, you got access, right?
National television, and he was asked whether he would have ever obtained any of these highly paid foreign jobs if not for his last name, and he said no. And he said no. Well, Hunter Biden, again, gets convicted. He goes to jail. That happens back in September. And part of the reason why this happened back in September is because, as you'll recall, there were still ongoing questions as to whether Donald Trump was going to go to jail. So one of the ways that the DOJ responded to allegations of impropriety and corruption in going after Donald Trump was to convict Hunter Biden, the president's son, on this variety of charges without ever touching Joe Biden. So the idea was the DOJ was definitely not corrupt because, after all, the DOJ went out of its way to go after the president's son, even if it was leaving the president of the United States alone. Well, Joe Biden, you'll remember back in July, suggested that if his son was in fact convicted, he would not pardon him. And then after his son was convicted, he still said that he would not pardon him. You remember this. Well, it turns out that he was lying all along. So, tonight, we find out that he was not only...
Let's see.
You can't go wrong with any of these gift ideas for the guys in your life. The Coastal Overshirt by Bill...
Skip this. See what Bree and Robbie have to say.
Good morning and welcome to Rising. Thanks for tuning in after the Thanksgiving holiday. Hope it was a good one. We have to skip the idle chatter though because we've got some big news to get to today. I'm joined by Stephen Alacara. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Wish we could talk about that, but we got to go straight to the news. What's on your radar?
Indeed. Well, here we go. President Joe Biden has issued a blanket pardon to his son Hunter Biden for all offenses he has committed or may have committed since January 1st, 2014. That is, Hunter Biden is off the hook for any alleged criminal activities over the course of the last decade. Now let us be very, very clear about what has just transpired. First and foremost, President Joe Biden has broken a promise, one he made unequivocally, that he would not pardon his son. When he ran for re-election, Biden told the public, in no uncertain terms, that this course of action, this exact thing, was off the table. Biden previously said, unambiguously, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process. As White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre put it, Biden was very clear, very upfront, obviously very definitive. Let's watch.
I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so much for that. Now, as with Joe Biden's obvious mental decline, KJP was apparently asked to defend the indefensible, to defend a lie. With a stroke of a pen, Joe Biden has made the sweeping decision to shield his son from the law, from public order, from justice. Now, it's worth digging into the details here. The blanket pardon covers the legal jeopardy Hunter Biden already finds himself in, as well as potential corruption issues for which he has not yet been charged or even fully investigated. Earlier this year, a Delaware jury convicted Hunter Biden of 3 felony counts of improperly purchasing a firearm or illicit drugs.
You know, Joe
Now, he could
Biden
have
lied.
faced up to 25 years in prison for that,
but that
was
in there.
expected to
Yeah.
serve just 16 months or less.
Reflected any particular concern for the larger contributors?
Well, the fortunate thing is I didn't have many larger contributors, and the only reason, see, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it. But what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son. And so I had to go out.
So, I mean, he admitted he's a sellout. He's going to do what he needs to do for the money, right? He's not for the people. But again, you know, him, what do you call it, pardoning his son. We knew that was going to happen. And let's see what CNN has to say about a roast tape after Biden pardoned his son.
The Biden Justice Department has been politicized. That's this message, the message this morning from not just Donald Trump, but from President Joe Biden himself. The president issuing a full and unconditional pardon to his son Hunter after repeatedly insisting in public that he wouldn't do it. And to defend his decision, the president adopted an argument that could have come straight out of Donald Trump's playbook. Blame your political opponents and claim unfair persecution. President Biden said this, quote, the charges in his cases came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. President adding, quote, no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son. And that is wrong, end quote. President Biden pardoning his son not just for the gun crimes for which he was convicted and not just for the tax crimes for which he pled guilty. Instead, Biden gave his son an extraordinarily sweeping pardon for any and all crimes he committed, may have committed, or even merely been involved in at any point in the last 10 years. That broad language, unlike any in recent history and reminiscent only of President Gerald Ford's pardon of Richard Nixon for, quote, all offenses, against the United States, end quote, that the former president had or may have committed during his entire presidency. Trying to explain his decision to Americans, President Biden made a personal appeal.
So let's see real quick. Joe Biden going to talk about they're coming at his son
so 25
because
years
it's his
after
son and
the
only his
1994
son.
crime bill was
Let's see if I can
enacted, we are
find
still
it.
having conversations about the import
thought
and
this was
significance
gonna
of the
be-
bill.
That 19
Significant.
The most significant federal effort to deal with violent crime in America that has ever been undertaken.
It was important for.
Let's see. I don't want to. I would. Let's go back to this real quick.
He said this, quote, "I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision," he said last night. Understand? Americans might, though they'll have to be forgiven for thinking that all of this was off the table.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No. I just said no. I just answered.
When would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
You've said before that the president would not pardon his son. Is that still the case?
Nothing has changed. That is still the case.
Have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
I could speak for the president, and he said he would not pardon his son.
Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
It stood until last night. Joining us now, Saleha Mohsin, senior Washington correspondent for Bloomberg, Isaac Dever, CNN senior reporter, Megan Hayes, former director of message planning for the Biden White House, and Brad Todd, Republican strategist and CNN political commentator. Welcome to all of you. Megan Hayes, look, you know, many of our viewers have gotten to know you, but you really do know this family. You worked inside this White House for a very long time.
I do not know Megan
Can you
Hayes.
help us understand how they got to this decision? Because I have to say, I've talked to some people who thought the president wouldn't get there because he was concerned about his legacy. Obviously, something really changed.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I didn't actually think he'd get there till much later in the last couple months of his term. But I do think with some of the nominations that Trump has put up, I think it probably caused a little bit of worry for him. But also I think people have to remember the president has lost 2 children already. And he does not need to lose another one to more political, witch hunts that the president's calling them. He worries about Hunter
not a
going to
witch
jail.
hunt,
There's
so
a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
put up
things
the
wrapped up
part
in
where
this. But I think at the end of the day, the president.
I'm gonna go and put up the part at the end of this where Joe Biden talked about if you sell crack or not sell crack, if you smoke crack, if you have any crack on you that's the size of a quarter, you go to jail for 5 years. He said that. Like he said, the judge doesn't even have the option to not put you in jail. You're gonna go to jail for 5 years. So it's not a witch hunt. He's on camera showing, like, I think it was 21 grams of crack on camera. He has it on a digital scale. Like, I mean, he's putting himself in jail for 5 years. And if you multiply it out by quarters, I mean, geez, it's like, that's life.
That made a decision as a father to keep his son out of jail and out of harm's way moving forward.
Just to pick up on something you said at the top of your answer, you think the selection, for example, of Kash Patel played into this decision?
I think that some of these nominations that Trump has been putting forward and leaving this in the hands of other folks, I think is worrisome to the president. I mean, President Trump and Kash Patel have said they are going to go after their political enemies. They're going after retribution. I think that Hunter Biden has been seen as
and didn't they go after Trump
many times, and I don't think the president's going to leave that to chance when he leaves office. He again does not want to lose another son. He's lost 2 children already, and he does not want this to go on any further once he leaves office.
Isaac Dever, what's your reporting behind the scenes on how this came to be? But also, I mean, we have seen some Democratic reaction already criticizing the president for this. I mean, you saw a tweet from the Colorado governor, a Democrat, Jared Polis, saying it's bad precedent that could be abused by later presidents. Congressman Greg Stanton said, I respect President Biden, but I think he got this one wrong. And then Joe Walsh, who is a former congressman, Republican congressman who's become a Trump critic, he was on MSNBC. He put it this way. Let's play it because it's kind of a succinct way to look at it. Take a look.
So the next time any of us complain about anything Trump does, this pardon is just deflating. Nobody's above the law, we've been screaming. Well, Joe Biden just made clear his son Hunter is above the law. Donald Trump lies every time he opens his mouth, weeping, screaming. Joe Biden repeatedly lied about this. The politicization of the justice system. Donald Trump and his people have been screaming. That's exactly what Biden said here.
Why is everyone spiraling over YouTube banning ad blockers? Like, chill guys, just use Pi. It's a free crowd.
All right, well, I'm going to leave this one here. And so that's the way CNN covered it, a little bit of how Ben Shapiro covered it. And then we're going to go to Aaron Brown for a second. I watched him earlier on my other channel. And I think he has the video.
Weight loss by him.
Joe Biden.
GLP-1 injections for as little as $199 per month.
Video of Joe Biden talking about
if you
how
escaped
much
the
crack
Maui
you had on
wildfire
you,
or had your
you were
home
going
damaged,
to go to
register
jail.
to receive
let's
his
see if I
word,
can
even
find
as
it
he watched
here.
his son being unfairly prosecuted. He said, quote, Hunter was
Again,
singled out
unfairly
only because he is
prosecuted.
my
Aaron Brown
son.
is
He alleges
fun.
an effort
What?
to break
Oh.
Hunter, who is 5.5 years sober.
Okay,
talks
well,
about
great.
the
So this is a
Ben
big
Shapiro a
story.
little
This is the big story of the day. Ooh. Whoa.
Here we go.
So there's this guy. What's the guy's name? Oh, I found this video. What is this? From 1991. Let's check this out.
And these penalties range from an automatic 5 years in jail for any person caught with a rock of crack cocaine. A piece of crack cocaine.
Don't do it,
as
Joe.
small as a quarter. I don't have a quarter with me, but if you visualize what one looks like, yeah, I do have a quarter.
Okay, thank God.
If you have
wouldn't have been able to picture it otherwise, Joe.
Piece of crack cocaine.
Right.
No bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand.
Okay.
One quarter of $1. We passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others. A law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail.
Right.
For 5 years.
Unless you could get somebody to pull some
no
strings,
probation.
Joe. What?
You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice.
Calm your ass down, man.
Now,
can I borrow a quarter?
The fact of the matter is.
So yeah, I don't know. Guys in TikTok videos are usually right, but that guy's wrong. He's like, oh, they could have done something else. Blah, 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 blah. They could have done something else, but no, this is the perfect ending.
Okay, and then now let's see. They got Joe Biden, or not Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, weighing out his crack. This is literally. There you go. Show him smoking it and whatever this hot tub is. Is this the one where he weighs it out? Let me see. No, it's not. Weighing out crack on digital DH. I mean, because they literally, Hunter finds himself in his crack. There we go. See, there it is right there. You can see the picture here. Let's see.
24/7 TV. Here you can see a video of Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden, arguing with a hooker about how much crack he has. He must have been intoxicated because the number on the scale is actually 20.7 and not 2.07.
I mean, if you think that's 2.07 grams of anything, that's a lot of stuff. But anyway, so he's going to talk about they're unfairly persecuting him. It's right here. It's right there. I mean, is he not? He's smoking crack. I showed you the last video was him smoking crack, and this video is him weighing it out. How is this unfair persecution? Oh, just let it play. I'm going to let it finish. It's only a minute and 20 seconds, so one more minute. But they're going to show Joe Biden again saying the same thing he just said. If you got a quarter's worth of crack, you're going to jail for 5 years.
Just a reminder of how Joe Biden felt about crack while he was in the Senate. How many quarters of crack does Hunter have here? Looks like a lot of jail time.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine, no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1. We passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others.
Strom Thurmond, great man there, great man.
You go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail.
5 years, just 5. Doesn't have a choice.
The fact of the matter is, we've gone from this.
What do you think about the...
So again, just like she said, what do you think? That's insane. He pardoned his son for how many people went to jail for a mandatory 5 years because of this law, because of him. But then you're gonna pardon your boy? All right, I mean, y'all talk about, oh my gosh, Trump is this, the Republicans are that. The Democrats passed that crime bill. Joe Biden wrote that crime bill, but his son ain't got to face the consequences. We do. So, I mean, hey, that's the story for today right now. Joe Biden pardoning Hunter. So, we'll put that out there, and then I'll be back.